That'd be hard to say.
Been so long.
He
Well,
couldn't swim when he went in the Navy. And the boys tried
what
to
was
get him
more
to
exciting aboard ship was thinking we were running into submarines, and we had to get prepared for that. I stood watch on what they call submarines. Submarines were about that long, and so big around like that, and you fired those things if we thought we had submarines. Most of the time we didn't call the battle stations, get men at their guns up front because the submarines were underwater. So it was up to us to set those. Our men that was running the scopes and all would give us what they thought the depth was of that place. And we would set our depth charges, which was about that long and 500 pounds.
Holy God.
And then we would fire those things at such and such a depth. And then they always got pretty scared. They didn't stay down there very long.
I believe it.
No, because getting hit by those depth charges, you either got out of there or you didn't get back up, one or the other. That's all there was to it. So,
What about? Can you tell me the story about when the guys helped you learn how to swim, or when they made that circle?
You remember that?
Can you tell me? I remember that story. Can you tell me?
well, of course, all of us fellows aboard ship, 75% of us were real buddies, One person needed something, somebody saw that he got it, And so I was not, everybody wondered why I got in the Navy, because I couldn't swim. I only weighed a little over 100 pounds. That's the reason I got in the Navy, So I would do that, and then when it came to battle stations, well, I went to my 20 millimeter gun. I stood watch on what we call depth charges, and these were about that long, and then they were 500 pounds, so they're big around. See, now we would stand watch on those, and if we thought we had a submarine, we ordinarily didn't call battle stations and get the men up to their guns because he wasn't aboard, So, but those of us that were standing watch, was up to us to fire those 500-pound depth charges at a point we thought they were, and they'd go out there, and then they would go off at whatever depths we had set for them. And technically, that's where the submarine was. But we never did see a submarine come up either, see? So I don't know whether we sank some and he couldn't do anything or not, or what. But then, nevertheless, that's where I stood watch, was on the submarines.
Wow.
And of course, then if we come to true battle stations where everybody got on their guns and got on the depth charges and those kind of things, which was a big measure, actually, well then, my battle station was on a 20 millimeter gun, and there were 3 of them on board of that. Well, actually, there were 4 of us, I believe. There was one on each side of the gun, and then there was one back here. And then I was on the phones with those people, with the contact of the convoy president.
Okay.
So he would give instructions and then I would give those instructions to the men in front of me, see.
Got it.
And then they would participate in those, to fire or not to fire, or, you know, anything that came up. Once I got the word, I passed it immediately to my men. And so there were 4 of us men. There were 2 on each side of our gun. There was one back here that did the firing. And then there was me that was on the telephone.
Okay.
And I was in touch with the up part of the ship where the captain was. See? And then he gave information out, and I passed it on to my gun crew. See?
Okay.
So each gun had a fella to pass on the information to them. I was the smallest of the men, and so they let me be the phone man, and they handled the big stuff then of loading the gun and firing the gun and getting all those things out of shape. And I didn't have to do that.
That's
I just
funny.
had to give the orders I got from up front. Yeah. So.
Do you remember, though, the story? Because I don't remember all the details of when the guys formed a circle and you jumped in.
Yeah.
Can you remind me of it? I don't remember the whole story.
Well, you know, I never did learn to swim, even now. But then I was only 18. And you know where we lived, I think, so I wasn't close to a sea or ocean, and you could get in the creek and not even get it up to your waist, you know. So I never did learn how to swim. But then when I got out there, well, my men would always tell me they'd get out here around. I was going to jump from right here, and they'd get out there, so that if I didn't get back to the ship, they would help me. See? So they stood out there and watched me, and I would jump off. Most of the time I would get back without them being a benefit, but I couldn't ever go much further. Get back and grab the ladder that you take up then to the deck of the ship, see?
Holy cow.
Yeah, so I was only 18, and those boys took care of me, I'll tell you.
It sure sounds like it. It sure sounds like it.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a story too where you had didn't you switch bunks with somebody? You were in like a swinging bunk?
Yeah, I was in a hammock,
Oh,
see?
yeah.
And those things would make me sick. You know, they'd just roll back and forth with the ship. So I had one guy that was in a bunk. We had bunks that were 3 high. There were lockers down here on the floor of the ship, and then there'd be a bunk on top of that. You'd put it on top of that. If somebody needed to get into it, they'd have to lift it up like that, see? So you'd put the bunk down there, and then you'd put a second bunk here, and then you'd put a third bunk up here, and it was only, you know, less than this far, hardly above.
Wow.
Yeah, to the. So.
And then where was the hammock? Was it above that one?
Huh?
Was the hammock above that one?
The hammock, no. The hammock, mine, in fact, would just swing. I got up over the bunk, not the bunk, where the men eat. What am I trying to say?
Like the meal area, the kitchen area.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it.
They ate. We had tables and benches and all that around there. And I had, my bunk was right above those. So I would always have to get up early of a morning because some men had to eat early. And I had to get away because I was right over their bunks.
Oh,
see?
my goodness.
So I would get up and pull my hammock up to the ceiling, see, and then the men would come in and sit down and eat. So then one guy kept talking to me about my place up there, you know, and so finally one day, he had a bunk. So finally one day he said, I'd like to trade places with you. and I pretended I didn't want to for a while. And I said, well, okay, I guess if you want to be up there, I'll let you. So he did, and he slept in there 3 nights and wanted to trade back, and I wouldn't let him. Yeah, wouldn't let him.
Oh, that's a good story.